So you are thinking of moving to Brighton here in Colorado? Well, congratulations, you found the right video, the right guy, because today's video, I'm breaking down all the things that I think you should know about living in Brighton. Then I'm gonna also give you my favorite places to go in the form of my local favorite coffee spot, food spot, and fun local thing to do, so you can decide if Brighton is a right spot for you and your family. If you're new to my channel, what is up? My name is Torrey Drake. I'm a local Denver realtor who works in the greater Denver area, northeast, southwest, and that includes Brighton. And if you are new to my Things to Know Places to Go community tour series, it's where I literally do this, break down all the things I think you should know, give you the fun places to go, and I throw up tons of B-roll the entire time, so even though you're watching a video, you can get a really good feeling of what it looks like to drive around here, walk around here in Brighton. Now, two quick disclaimers. Number one, if it looks like I'm sweating a lot, I am. It's 103 degrees. It is stinking hot today. And number two, I'm actually, this portion, my talking head version, I'm actually not filming in Brighton. All the B-roll, of course, is, so don't worry. You're gonna see tons of Brighton. I just had to leave for some work stuff that came up while I was filming, and I'm filming this portion of it in Washington Park, which is near Denver. And also real quick, if you like the video, hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you so much. Let's rock and roll Brighton, baby. Real quick, before we dive into the things to know, let's talk about location and proximity to hotspots here in Colorado. Number one, you are 30 minutes from downtown Denver, 45 minutes from the Denver Tech Center, 30 to 40 minutes from Red Rocks, but from Golden, you're about 30 minutes, Boulder, 35 minutes, and from the foothills of the mountains, you are just about 45 minutes. Thing to know number one about Brighton is that it's historical. It was founded in 1887, and the main street in Brighton, literally called Main Street, has tons of historical buildings. So that's really pretty to walk around. Main Street is pretty short and small. Brighton is a small town, but it's cool that the Main Street, you can really feel a lot of the history, which I'm sure you're seeing through some of the B-roll. And as far as there being pros and cons to being a historical area, some of the pros are, there's not only are there historical buildings, that's cool, there's some historical homes too, which are also cool. That can also be a bit of a con though, because sometimes those older homes just don't get very well taken care of, and if an older home is a little run down, it just doesn't look too good all the time. So it can be both a pro or a con for it being historical, up to you to decide. Thing to know number two, we're going to be talking about housing basically as a category here. I'm going to cover a lot of items here. Number one under housing is that it's generally considered a good amount more affordable than the surrounding areas because it's just not as well developed. Yeah, like I said, Main Street is smaller. Brighton is definitely more removed from a lot of other areas. It's pretty by itself. It's in a more industrial area, so housing is a little bit more affordable right now. Also, out of number two for housing is there's a lot of new builds being built out there. So you have the older homes that have been there for quite a while, and then on the outskirts of Brighton, they're building a lot of new homes just because as of right now, there's so much open land out there, and Denver is growing so rapidly, so quickly that we are expanding north and northeast, and that's where Brighton is, so it's getting a lot of attention from new builds and new build communities. So if you want newer homes that are affordable and are just outside of Denver but not crazy far away, check out Brighton. Also in regards to housing, it's just my opinion, but Brighton definitely is a bit more of a sleepy town just because, once again, smaller, more removed, not a whole lot to do there, not as developed yet, which is what a lot of the residents love. So I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it's just a much more quiet way of life being in Brighton than somewhere closer to Denver. And also, I guess, on that note, there's a good equity opportunity in Brighton. I'm not saying Brighton's gonna be, you know, the next boom in town in Denver, but there's just so much development happening around there. There's so much development in Green Valley Ranch, which is just southeast of Brighton. There's so much development happening there that you're going to get a lot of equity just through all the new things being built around it. For example, look at Commerce City, also southeast of Brighton. About a decade ago, that was like, oh, nothing's really out there. There's not a whole lot to do out there. And now Commerce City is like king of new builds, new build communities. Everything's brand new. They're building tons of commercial development. Equity is going through the roof out there. I don't see any reason why Brighton wouldn't be the same, because it's just a continuation of Commerce City as we go north. Last but not least, in the housing category, there is acreage available if you want to, buy some land and build a home on it, because there's so much open space as of now. Of course, as it develops, less acreage will be available. Thing to know number three, I touched on it already, but I want to give it its own. It's so important to Brighton that I really want to make sure that stands out. Number three It's a small town feel, small town way of life, small town pace. I'm not saying that's good or that's bad. It just is what it is. Some people are gonna love that and crave that out of it. But if you're really wanting like, hey, I want a bumpin' nightlife scene where I can go, I want to be able to strut out my door Saturday night, dress to the nines and have like a baller night, Brighton probably is not the best place. Just my opinion, but there you go. Thing to know number 4 is that errands, it is so hot today, guys. I'm gonna go back in the shade. Thing to know number 4 is errands are gonna be really convenient. You have what's called Prairie Center, which has a lot of basically all your commercial errands stacked in one place, so you don't have to go from place to place to place to place. Lakewood, that is one of the cons of Lakewood, which is much closer to Denver, just a touch west of Denver. That city is very, very spread out. Of course, it has its shopping centers, but it's really nice to have something like Brighton has, Prairie Center, that has, boom, a whole bunch of commercial areas in one place. It makes errands feel very easy. Side note, tons of Mexican restaurants. The Mexican restaurants here are popping and good. So if you like Mexican food, you are gonna love the food in Brighton. Thing to know number 5, it is painfully, ridiculously obvious, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway, is that you are further away from the mountains. A lot of people move to Colorado to be near the mountains. They look at the housing prices near the mountains. They're like, maybe it's not so important to be right next to the mountains. So Brighton is about 45 minutes away from the foothills of the mountains. I've said the word mountains like a million times, but I want to point it out. And in my opinion, 45 minutes isn't really that bad. That's not like gonna stop you from ever going to the mountains. In my opinion, that's still really darn close. It's really convenient. You can be there in less than an hour. You can be walking out your front door in less than an hour, frolicking around the mountains of Colorado. That's pretty good, especially because housing is dramatically cheaper out there compared to the rest of Denver. Well, that concludes things to know about Brighton. Let's dive into places to go. My favorite coffee spot, food spot, fun local thing to do in Brighton. Before we do, I want to extend, number 1, a thank you for watching the video, and number 2, an invite to reach out if you have any questions, comments, concerns about your move to Denver, Colorado. Yes, I'm in real estate, so I help people buy and sell homes, but you do not have to be in the middle of buying or selling a home to reach out and get my assistance and my opinions on different communities that make up Denver. I've had a lot of you guys reach out, which has been awesome, saying like, hey, so sorry to bother you, I'm not thinking about moving or buying anything, but I'd love your opinion on XYZ. I'm super happy to do that, guys, so please feel free to reach out. Contact information is in the description. Now, places to go for coffee. Number 1 is Main Street Cafe, because it's literally on the main street. So if you're visiting Brighton, want to check it out, plugging that into your GPS is going to take you straight to the main part of Brighton, the historical part of it. We're going to be surrounded by a lot of cool historical buildings, and in doing so, you get to walk around. There's some breweries on Main Street as well, of course. I get to have a really good local cup of coffee at Main Street Cafe while checking out the historical buildings. That covers coffee. Let's talk about food. Something Brewery. Yes, good news. My food spot is a brewery. Congratulations. Something Brewery, literally on Main Street as well. Like a 1-minute walk from Main Street Cafe. It's literally called Something Brewery. They do pizza, and they have a pizza shack in the back where they do wood-fired pizza. It's really cool, really easy. So if you start your day at Main Street Cafe, you can then walk around Main Street, explore, do some shopping, see the area, and then get ready to, and then you can enjoy a beer at Something Brewery. Or at the end of Main Street, just like 2 to 3 minutes from Main Street Cafe, you have what's called a Big Choice Brewery. They have much more of a robust menu, so if you're craving like maybe pizza's not your thing, you want more options, definitely check out Big Choice Brewery because they got a much bigger menu. They also have a patio. They do trivia every Tuesday. If you check out the website, they have all sorts of events going on. So Big Choice Brewery definitely gives you some big choices in terms of not only the beer, the food, and events to choose from when visiting or living in Brighton. Last but not least, for places to go, where do you go for a fun local thing to do? You go to Bar Lake, which is just about 10 to 20 minutes from Brighton, depending on where in Brighton you are. It's a really big body of water where you can go kayaking, boating. It's really popular, but it's never slammed, in my opinion, from what I've heard, from what I've seen. It's never slammed. You never go there and you're like, oh my goodness, there's just nowhere to go because there's so many people. Once again, Brighton is so removed from the rest of the city, and there's so much to do in this greater Denver area that people don't feel overwhelmed to go to Bar Lake. So go in there, should have a darn good time, get to play in the water a little bit. and you won't be surrounded by tons of people. Oh, also another local thing you can do is go to the Armory Performing Arts Center. I forget the history of the Armory. I should have looked it up, but it was like a World War II thing, sort of a lot of, it was an armory for weaponry and everything like that, but it's been converted to a performing arts center where they do, you know, plays, concerts, all sorts of theater stuff. So that's a really cool way to get to support the arts in the community of Brighton. Oh my God, it is so hot. Wow. And bright. I can't even keep my eyes open. Well, that concludes the Brighton Things to Know Places to Go community tour, guys. Once again, my name is Torrey Drake. I'm a local Denver realtor, and I want to extend the warmest, friendliest invitation to reach out if you are considering a move here. Would be super happy to have a no pressure, no BS conversation with you. Whether it's regards to real estate or just you moving here and you want to talk about communities, no pressure either way. Love to hear from you guys. Consider checking me out on Instagram and TikTok. I'm active on there every single day. If you dug the video, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.